I'm just gonna.
It's science.
This is gonna be the opener. It's just gonna be you saying all this stuff. I'm just gonna cut me right out. That's the opener to this podcast. Hi there, and welcome to Jav and Charles Talk Comics Season 7, Episode 3. Yeah, let's reverse that. Season 3, Episode 7. Ultimate Spider-Man, Miles Morales, and Earth X. Hi, this is one of your hosts, Charles Herring, and I am here with your other host, Javier Gonzalez, spell ending with a Z, as he pointed out. Actually, two Z's. Well, it doesn't end with two Z's. Has one Z in the kind of the middle, and then one Z at the end. He is here with me. The reason I bring this up is I do know how to spell his name, but I did a little fun thing on our clean feed where I used a new nickname for him, and then I typed out his last name, and I misspelled it. There's an S on the end. He immediately pointed that out, which he should, because if you misspell one of your friends' names, they should go, hey, yeah, dumbass? So, mea culpa, I apologize. I've already apologized privately, so I thought I would apologize publicly. And that, as you can tell, is a legitimate apology, which I am known for on this podcast. Anyway, hi, Hav.
Hey, Charles, how are you?
Better now.
Okay, so I got to ask you. So I do listen to our podcasts.
Okay.
And look, I'm sure you... No, Charles, so I was going to mention I do listen to our podcasts.
Okay.
And the last one included, and I noticed you didn't mention, and you've done this before on accident, but you used to say, and I'm here with my co-host and my good friend,
No.
Javier Gonzalez, and you've stopped doing that.
In fairness, you are correct, and I did say it recently because I noticed I'd stopped saying it. And by the way, I would say my very good friend.
Oh.
Not just my good friend, I would say my very good friend. And you're right, I've noticed I've stopped saying that, and I don't think it has nothing to do with our friendship. You are still my very good friend. I still consider you one of my very bestest friends. However, I've just kind of evolved. I guess saying the same thing all the time is stale, but
okay, that's what I figured.
Yeah.
That's what I figured. Then the other thing I noticed the last time and now this time, and I think I know where you got this from, when I said, how are you? And you said, better now. And you're not saying it sarcastically, I don't think. It's because I got you listening to the Fake Doctors, Real Friends, or vice versa, about what Donald Faison and Zach Braff rewatching Scrubs, and they had on the one, the only John C. McGinley, and apparently he was just chock-load of these sayings.
Yes, he says, when people say, how are you? He says, better now. And I legitimately love that. I'm like, okay, that is a wonderful thing. And I've said that to people at work, and they're like, well, what do you mean? I've said, it's better. Thanks. Better now that you ask. Better now. Thank you very much. And they're like,
the other one, I have to. Yeah, it's not sarcastic.
No, it's
not like better now.
Better,
I guess. No, it's
better for you asking.
Yes, and then the other one that I want to steal the next time I shake hands with somebody is apparently he would say, "Here are five good ones for you."
You've
when
said
he
that.
Put out his hands.
You've said that to me.
Oh, I did say that to you.
Yeah, you have.
I got that from
before. Yeah, but before you even mentioned it, you have said that to me. So
okay.
That cracks me up. Now, once I listened to it and I realized where you got it, it was good.
So yeah, and of course, in case anybody hasn't seen Scrubs, the TV show, or no, John C. McGinley famously played Dr. Cox. Just a great character, and apparently he's an even better dude.
Yeah,
and he was hilarious on the podcast. But anyways, on their podcast. But
what seems amazing about John C. McGinley is if you watch Dr. Cox and you go, okay, that guy really cares as a doctor, and except he's also in a lot of ways an awful human being. So if you take the awful human being out of it, John C. McGinley seems to be everything that is Dr. Cox that is good, and none of that which is bad. So it's just this. It's legitimately, he just embodied that character. I loved that show. I've now rewatched the entire canon episodes, not the last season because I don't own the last season, but I did. I probably will pop Hulu on at some point and watch that, because I did watch it at the time and I enjoyed it. It just, as they even said, it's not really the same show. They changed the show completely. They were trying to kind of spin it off. But as all of y'all know, this is not a comic book podcast anymore. It is a whatever the fuck Jav and Charles want to talk about. And evidently that is other people's podcasts. Welcome to Jav and Charles Talk Other People's Podcasts. Today, Charles listened to the first episode of a Psych rewatching. And if any of you, yes, there's a Psych rewatching. Yes.
Okay.
Anyway, we're done with other people's podcasts. Or are we?
Oh,
yeah, we
okay.
are. For now.
Well, real fast. You know what? Now that you say that about them spinning it off, I never thought about it because I was so disappointed that they even did the last season. But they should have just done a freaking spinoff. Why didn't they just do a spinoff called Interns or not call it Scrubs? And I don't know. Okay.
Well, that's kind of what they were saying. So today, as every other day, we're going to talk about 2 comic books that were suggested, one by me and one by Jav. As usual, the one by Jav is not usual. As almost every time, the one Jav suggested came out before the one Charles suggested. Thus, that is the one we shall talk about first. And that one, wow, that was me use words weird. Earth X, right? I got it right? It is Earth X. It's not Planet X like I've been calling it for 3 weeks.
Earth X came out in 1999.
Written by?
I had this just pulled up. But written by Jim Krueger and Alex Ross. The covers are by Alex Ross. The interior art is by John Paul Leone and Bill Reinhold. So, yeah, and this is after, I read somewhere, I didn't do notes on this, nor do I have the page, but after Kingdom Come, where Alex Ross was, I don't know if he even co-plotted Kingdom Come now that I said that out loud, but he was definitely the artist because he did the interiors and the covers. He got drafted by Marvel and this writer Jim Krueger to do something epic and futuristic, dystopian about Marvel, and so you get Earth X. So yeah, let me just, as opposed to most times, we've actually talked a little bit about this because we had such a gap between recordings, but let me ask you, what'd you think of it?
I did not care for it very much. There were things in it that I enjoyed, and I saw what they were trying to do. It was poorly executed, in my humble opinion. In a lot of ways, it wasn't for me, but I see a lot of problems with it that we can discuss. The main thing is we kind of talked about before, right after I finished it was too broad. It was more explained as a magazine article than we saw the actual things going on. The way they set it up was a step away, so you didn't have any agency in the story. You didn't feel the story, that you didn't feel what was going on. You saw an impartial-ish that wasn't really impartial, but you had this separated observer because they used Uatu. Is it Uatu?
Oh, that's how I say it, Uatu.
Uatu,
the Watcher. Yeah.
The Watcher, and evidently Machine Man. They pulled Machine Man up there to do the Watcher because someone had blinded the Watcher. And then, as I'm reading it, I also realized, well, obviously, as you're supposed to, that they used a bunch of the Celestial stuff, which I think is hooey. As you well know, I am on the record as meh on that whole Celestial raping the Earth and inseminating man. It ain't my thing. It wasn't even.
I know.
It wasn't even my thing when we were watching all those shows on Saturdays. That they talked about it.
Yeah.
Was this aliens? No, it wasn't.
Well, okay. So speaking of Celestials, I don't know if you noticed this, but is very Kirby centric.
It is very Kirby centric.
I mean, because I don't know if you noticed at the very beginning, he starts out with a monolith appearing before him, Machine Man. That's directly from 2001: A Space Odyssey, the Marvel adaptation that Kirby did. Machine Man was first introduced in 2001: A Space Odyssey that Kirby did, the ongoing series. That was a Kirby creation. And then you get into it. The Inhumans. Well, first the Celestials, then the... Oh my God, I'm blanking on the names. The movie that was too long, that was one of the worst Marvel movies made.
The Eternals?
The Eternals, then the Inhumans.
And
it's all Marvel.
And the Deviants. Oh God,
the Deviants are the counterparts to...
Yeah, that was the only fun I had talking about that, was the Deviant stuff.
Yeah, the Deviants were the counterparts to the perfect, Icarus and Circe and all that. All those Kirby creations. And So I guess to back up, so dystopian Earth, kind of your dystopia, well, not dystopian 101. Something's happened to Earth. Reed Richards thinks it's his fault. Everybody's superpowered now.
Yes.
He was trying to do something with sound waves that was really convoluted when they tried to explain it, to convert something, and then he thinks he somehow activated the mutant gene in everybody. You eventually find out, no, it's something having to do with Inhumans, and everybody is Inhuman now and evolving, blah, blah, blah. Well, so that's kind of like the 1,000-foot view of what's going on, right?
Yeah, for what I took of it, and God knows I did read it, is everyone has the Inhuman gene to some extent in their body. The Celestials put it there in order to make the human race act as an immune system to protect the Celestial growing inside the Earth's core. So we find out that there is on the planet, there's someone calling himself the Red Skull that can basically make everybody do anything. And the whole idea is he's going to be able to control everybody. We also find out that Galactus is not actually so much as a monster as he is the essence that he sucks out of the Earth isn't actually the planets. He's basically aborting the Celestial.
He's birth control for Celestials.
Yes, he's Celestial birth control, unasked for Celestial birth control. He's wreaking. He comes in and eats a fetus, and that's to control their population, because if there's too many of them, they go wackadoo, and they do, because the Celestials are fairly awful in the Marvel universe, right?
They're just speaking of overpowered beings. I mean,
but they're also
we're ants. We're ants to them.
Yeah, and they're assholes.
Yes.
And they come up with some other stuff that it's just that the Norse gods were some amorphous goo that is a shape changing goo, and then when they came to Earth and the Norse turned them into the Norse gods, and the whole thing, it was just so.
Well, hold on. I think look, there was a lot there, but let me just interrupt you right there if I could, because let me go through a couple points you made. The narrative thing. I told you previously this may have been better served to have been more of a novel with some graphics every few pages, and actually in a novella type form.
Sure.
Because every page, I mean, there were mostly splash pages where you could kind of see through the words and see images behind the words, because it was very dense. There was a lot going on.
Yes.
The Norse gods, if I remember correctly, because I read this a while ago, but I had read it years ago maybe when I was in law school, maybe when I first. Anyways, a while ago, it was hypothesized that the Norse gods were actually from another planet where a Celestial had been implanted. They had evolved in defending to the point where they all became so evolved they could shapeshift into anything they want and became spacefaring and left by the time the Celestial being was being born. Some of them escaped, came here, were kind of without form, and then got imprinted by the Norse people because they believed in them. They just became that. Yes. And then Loki figures it out, which I think is hilarious, because he's trying to convince them that just because they don't believe in us anymore doesn't mean we can't do whatever we want to. You just kind of have to believe in yourself, kind of thing. And they just can't get it. It was interesting.
You can believe in yourself. We had this conversation where you were telling me about it could be a novel, and my thought was this should have been a year-long full event with everything. It's one of those things that needed more fleshing out. We needed to feel Captain America having a fight. We needed to see Spider-Man trying to save Mayday, who's become a Venom. That's Mayday's his daughter.
Right.
And you needed to see more of than just this little bit of that, or the little bit of Captain America who's still fighting the good fight, or the Hulk who has separated, not instead of putting them together like they do with the Smart Hulk going on right now in the movies. He's totally separated the Hulk out, and Bruce Banner is now reverted back to a child who is evidently blind but sees through the eyes of the Hulk, and the Hulk is basically a mindless automaton that does whatever Bruce wants him to. That was actually, I was interested in that. I would like to read that. I'd like more of that.
What you're saying right there about all those different things that you wanted to see more of, I think, to me, lends credence to that. There are so many good ideas here. It's just you see such small snippets of it because they're going through I'm sorry to steal your thing. They're literally going through the entire history of the Marvel universe, comic book universe, of 616, and trying to explain stuff and how it's going to turn out 30, 40, 50 years after whatever the present is at that given time. It's you're right. I would have loved to send more Clea betraying Strange to be with Loki.
Yeah,
that was cool.
I have no idea. I thought that went over my head, or I was outside of my knowledge base on the comics.
I just think it was unique.
Yeah.
I think she just got sick and tired of Strange and wanted to be Sorcerer Supreme, and
Well,
Loki promised her the world.
In fairness, aren't we all tired of Doctor Strange?
No, I'm not. I'm really not. I like the movies. I've liked the movies. I have. I like the last one.
I don't dislike the movies.
I've never been. I read Strange.
Strange
Tales in the 80s.
I like the new Sorcerer Supreme. I am Team Wong
in the MCU.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
I'm definitely Team Wong.
I know Dr. Voodoo was Sorcerer Supreme, I think, in the comic books for a little while, and I never picked that up, and that'd be interesting to read some. Anyway, what was I going to say? Oh, I know. The other thing, look, there's a lot here that I got some notes, but of course I do. The other thing that I think was interesting, this was, in a way, a comic book version in the Marvel universe of what Rogue One was in the Star Wars universe. They were trying to fix a big plot hole. How do we just say it? The Watcher that watches Earth is
Uatu?
Uatu, sure. Uatu is a Watcher. He's never to interfere. Mm-hmm. But the first time Galactus comes to devour the Earth, he gives, hey Ethel. The first time in the Kirby Lee Kirby run, he gives Mr. Fantastic the ultimate nullifier to be able to make Galactus stop and go away. Mm-hmm. And there's really not a good explanation for it. He just does that. Well, here's the explanation. He was there to watch and make sure the humans were the microbes and the white blood cells to protect the fetus of the celestial that's inside the core of the Earth. Yeah, and I thought that was a good fix.
See, I'm gonna massively disagree with you on this. It's not a good fix because it massively just changes completely what the Watchers are there for.
They're not supposed to interfere. He interfered. Why did he interfere?
No, but I understand. But they're going to, because he became invested. Whatever, he didn't want to watch it destroyed because he likes what he's doing in that in that part of the universe. But my point is, all they do is watch and record. And you're saying, so the plot point is it's a plot hole because how did they do this and yada yada yada, when what you're saying is, okay, so instead of what they've always been is just this race of people that are watching, they're actually subservient to the Celestials.
That's
and they're there
in this comic book.
I know that's what they say, but you and I both know this is not canon.
I know it's not canon, but it's trying to explain why in the original Lee and Kirby run he interfered when he's never interfered before, and supposedly Watchers are never to interfere. They're supposed to just watch and record. I understand that they're not, but the thing is... So why did he? Because he's there because he's beholden to the Celestials.
Well, why couldn't... It's not even a good reason. The reason is because he did not want to watch what he had been watching since the beginning be destroyed by Galactus. He went outside.
That.
See, it's better. Honestly, it's better if he goes outside of the character of a Watcher because of what he's watching. So being watched changes what's being watched, and it changes what's watching.
I gotcha. I agree to disagree. I think this is a good explanation why the Watchers. He's not a Watcher at that point. He stopped being a Watcher.
Well, he was never a Watcher. He's a keeper. He interferes all the time. So what you're saying is, well, he interferes all the time, and it's not a special thing he did when he stopped it for the whole Earth from being destroyed.
No, I'm saying he interfered once to stop Galactus because that's his purpose. Well, that's his purpose, not to watch.
He's probably interfered more times, and I'm saying they're making him something completely different from what he was. They're not fixing a plot hole. They're changing his inherent thing.
Again, agreed. I think it's a huge plot hole why he interfered, because it's just because he felt like it at that one time. The other Watchers have watched other planets die and done nothing.
Okay, so here's the other thing. What's the plot hole in Star Wars that Rogue One was fixing?
That little porthole, why the daddy put it there.
Oh.
In the Death Star.
That wasn't a plot hole that needed fixing. It really wasn't.
It's kind of a terrible design for a huge space station to allow one little shot.
Yeah, it is a terrible design.
And it's been talked about for decades.
I understand that. I understand that everybody talks about things like that. But let's see, you have a fascist group, an engineer forced to do work, and you have a huge bureaucracy which fascism runs on. Mistakes happen. You can Occam's razor that. You can just say it was just a flaw. Or it could just be somebody was forced to work on it and he was like, I'm going to try to, you don't have to back it up. You can just assume that that's what happened. Hell, there was now a non-canon novel about that they actually built it that way because they didn't like what they were doing, that they were being forced to do. So it wasn't even one of the main designers. It was some of the engineers that were working on it. They were like, hey, you know what? If we do this, it'll actually give it some flaws.
Did you like Rogue One?
I did.
Okay.
I did. But I'm
just curious.
I never thought of that as I think we get into so looking deep into these things that we try to nitpick. It's part of nerd culture that I don't like as much. It's like you just can't enjoy something for what it is. It's a
pretty big common one. And also why stormtroopers can't fire straight and,
Because the stars of the movies can't be killed. They can't kill the main character. That's why they don't shoot straight.
And then, especially after Obi-Wan says, "Ooh, these shots could only be by stormtroopers with their accuracy." And then, there's also we do watch it a lot. We can disagree on. I liked the twist of like, hey, here's why he did this. He couldn't let this. His race is there not to watch, but the Watchers are there to protect the embryos within these planets, and they're anti-Galactus, and that's why he gave him the ultimate. And then, the goo thing.
So why didn't he just use the? Why didn't he just have him use the nullifier on Galactus?
I forget what happened to the nullifier. Something did happen to the nullifier.
Well, no, he gave it back.
I forget what happened, or they forget something happened.
Yeah, but he could have used.
Then at the end, it's not Galactus anymore. On top of that, because Franklin Richards had evolved to the point where he was whatever somebody wanted them to believe that he was, and Dad wanted him to be Galactus. So guess what? Poor Franklin. That was just sad.
Yes.
What else? No, the narrative stuff. Look, I keep on going because on reread, I remember loving it because it went so in depth. I remember thinking, God, that's a good idea. God, just like you rattled off the.
Oh, I didn't think they had a ton of good ideas. I said I would have been more interested in reading about those things in it.
Well, no, and see, I do like because I know it's fiction. I do like. Hey, look, they tried with. Why can't I never remember their freaking names? They tried with the Eternals, and then they tried again with the Inhumans. Was it the Eternals that had the Deviants and the Inhumans had something else?
Yes, the Eternals had the Deviants. Look, and
then there was like a subculture for the Inhumans that were too ugly. That's right. They couldn't pass, or they got mutated too much by the Terrigen Mist.
So the things you're talking about though are you talking about why when they've tried to live adapt the Inhumans and the Eternals? Because that's I gotta be perfectly blunt. It's core concept. The problem is core concept. It's just the Eternals are not a great core concept. It was made out of kind of hokey bullshit science of the late 50s, early 60s, or whatever that crap was. I don't remember when that stupid ass book came out. And
Chariots of the Gods. Or
whatever. Yeah, and it's this hokey bullshit that a very good comic book guy tried to make into something because he liked the idea, and I don't think it worked.
I think if they could do Thor like they've done Thor, they could have done something better with Eternals. They could have done something better with Inhumans. That TV show was just awful.
Yeah,
and unfortunately, it was at the tail end before it got merged into.
Some of the stuff they did with the Inhumans in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. was good.
Yes.
I liked how they did that. Yeah.
They took it into that.
Yeah.
Then what else is from this? I'm just looking through my notes because there's so much they stuff in here. Oh, not a lot of X-Men in it. Did you like Fat Wolverine thinking he's been married to Jean Grey the whole time? And at the very end, she's like, oh, by the way, I'm not Jean Grey. I'm Madeline Pryor.
Yeah. Who the fuck's Madeline Pryor?
You really don't know?
Nope.
So when Jean Grey died in the Dark Phoenix saga, and then after that, Cyclops, Scott Summers meets Madeline Pryor, who just happens to be the spitting image.
Oh, okay.
Of Jean
I see.
Grey.
He
gets married and has a kid with her. Okay. She becomes a Goblin Queen in not Fall of the Mutants, Inferno.
Okay. So
another big event that we'll eventually read. Just so you know, you're going to read that. That's a promise and a threat. Sorry. Go ahead.
Damn. I disagreed with him hard, and now he's all feisty. This might be a fun podcast.
Coming for you.
You're coming? On the podcast? Settle down. Good Lord. I got Hav all excited, and this is what happens. So, yes, I do remember you telling me about that him marrying a dead spitting image of her. But no, I didn't. I couldn't connect those two names because, I mean, I think you may have told me her name when you told me about that originally. But good Lord, that was I think in season 1 we discussed that.
Maybe you're probably
so
right.
it's been a number of years and that kind of thing. So yeah, that makes sense then. That's hilarious.
There's no explanation how the Avengers die, just that they're dead, and then Tony Stark goes hardcore into Howard Hughes.
I did like the Howard Hughes take. That amused me.
And I remember that one part where I forget who comes. He's like, "Oh, you're letting all the germs in." But he makes the Iron Avengers, not the Iron Legion from the movies, but the Iron Avengers, who apparently he gives all the characteristics of the original Avengers. That's kind of messed up and weird. There's also a point where they call, God, there's so many nods to Kirby. They call the Fantastic Four Challengers of the Unknown, which was the Fantastic Four's Marvel. Challengers of the Unknown was a Kirby creation he did for DC. I just like that they smashed those up together.
Nice.
On a thing. Ben Grimm, astronaut.
I liked
his kids, Buzz and Chuck. I'm guessing after Buzz Aldrin and Chuck Yeager.
I love that he had kids that are just little rock monsters.
Yeah.
And what was the bullshit about Alicia Masters? Good Lord, that was a
that she could always see, but now she could see more or something. Daredevil turned into somebody. Hey, there's the Mego Spider-Man. I got you. Merry Christmas. Daredevil is actually cannot die. The Man Without Fear, because he's evolved. He's turned into like. At first, I thought it was Deadpool. I swear to God, I was like, I know they're calling him Daredevil.
Well, is it the same?
I thought it's supposed to be the same Daredevil. I don't know because I thought,
tell.
Oh my God, it's Deadpool, but I don't even know.
Dude, I couldn't. There was so much stuff in there that just barely made any sense. I honest to God just waded my way through it.
Well, again, there's so much good stuff.
I don't think that word means what you think it means.
It does. Well, according to me, it's good.
Yeah,
Black Panther being king and Storm being his queen. I think that predates any of the stuff that came later where she becomes his queen.
Yeah, and I have no problem with that. I do have a problem with the way in the Marvel Universe, I personally, like every good American should, have a problem with royalty. So when you have in Marvel Comics the kings and queens, and they act like kings and queens, all I think of is, gee, I used to like this character, now I want to drag him out into a public square and chop their fucking head off.
Yeah.
Like a good Republican, by the way, with a small R, not a capital R.
You're not. You're just. Well, why are you wearing that MAGA hat then? Huh?
I look good in red.
There you
go. Ugh, just the thought of that was your one me yes-anding, you son of a bitch.
I did it.
Oh, I feel dirty.
Somebody told me, I think it was Ryan just the other day. He's like, he said something like, is it weird that every time if I see a red hat at a distance, I get worried because I'm like, oh, don't tell me that's a MAGA hat, and they're relieved when like it's a St. Louis Cardinals hat, or
the Rangers,
or a Rangers hat. Yeah. You're like, oh, what?
Oh yeah, no shit. No shit.
So what else? There's tons of stuff here. There's just, again, so much jammed in. I know you didn't like a lot of it. I liked. God, they try to explain everything. It was just trying to go through and explain everything through the lens of, okay, if this is the mythology of the Marvel's comic book universe 616, why is this stuff the way it's been?
But they weren't. So much of it wasn't even good explanations, though. That was kind of my problem with it.
I thought the celestial egg in the earth was a great explanation.
Well, but we knew there was a celestial egg in the earth.
From when?
From the stupid movie we watched.
That came a little bit after this.
Okay, no. So in none of those.
I don't think anything previous to Earth X was there ever the thought.
Okay, so that's where that came from. Okay,
I think so.
I still don't necessarily like that because I kind of thought it was dumb. And then when the Celestial at the end of the stupid Eternals movie came out and said then they turned it into the end of the beginning of the Eternals, which is now you have to prove to us that you deserve to exist, kind of thing.
That was that movie could have been better, obviously. It could have been... if they would have made it halfway... Look, I'm not a huge fan of the first Thor movie, but if they had done it anywhere near as good as the first Thor movie, it just made it linear. I don't understand why they had to do this big reveal where it was Icarus that betrayed What's-Her-Face.
It was worse than the second Thor movie.
Yeah, I agree.
It was legitimately probably the worst Marvel movie.
I'm trying to think if there's any... I mean, if you're only talking about Marvel Cinematic proper,
Yes,
we're not talking about
I'm not-
Sony or
Dare
that
to-
Fantastic Four movie that came
Oh
out.
no! I'm not talking about. I'm talking about what Marvel has control over.
Yeah, it was probably. Yeah, I'm trying to think of one worse one, and I can't.
If you're because the Fantastic Four movie you're talking about, I've never seen.
The one with the kids, where they're in yeah.
Yeah,
With the four is very prominent. Fantastic, yeah.
The third one they made, because they made the two with the first two that were very bad, and I was very, very disappointed.
With Chris Evans as Human Torch.
Yes,
Made that weird third one that was super. I mean, literally not dark like serious and brooding. Like every shot was at night or in a dark room where because that's where scientists work.
Yeah, they all work
rooms.
in really dark rooms where they can't see very well. Never been in a dark lab.
It's usually the opposite, where it's like bright.
Where you can see.
Well, when you're doing the. Okay, so
when you're doing dark science, it has to be dark.
That's just the way it works.
It's called dark science, Hav. Come on.
What did you think of the way they treated your beloved favorite character, Peter Parker, Spider-Man, and May? The little that they were in there.
I was very angry at one part of it. I have no doubt that a middle-aged father Spider-Man could let himself go and with everybody being superhero powers and whatever, do some of the stuff he did. I was very disappointed that it took his daughter about to be raped for him to get involved.
Yeah, that was messed up.
Because that right there goes outside of even the most nihilistic Peter Parker. So it was just... I was just that took it too far. So she's about to get molested by the Red Skull, and then all of a sudden he's all like, "Oh, now I must step in. Forget humanity." I'm like, Peter Parker's not the guy that learned that you had to treat women that women were people when his daughter was born. That's always been one of my pet peeves is the guys that will get credit for coming out and saying, once I held my little girl in my arms, I realized that women deserved rights. And I'm like, what the fuck is wrong with you, dude? Why would you say that shit out loud?
Now that I've had COVID, I'm okay with people getting the vaccine. I wish I would have gotten it before because I went through that drives me crazy. All of the, now I have a friend or a daughter that's gay. Any of it. Yes.
You don't get credit. Keep your fucking mouth shut. You can be an ally. Don't get me wrong, but don't tell us. Good Lord, don't tell us that you thought that.
Well, it's almost as bad as the people that say, "Hey, you know what? I got a black friend. I have a black friend, or I have a Hispanic friend, or Asian friend."
I don't personally have any Hispanic friends.
Yeah. Okay. Ta-da-da.
Evidently anymore.
Oh.
No, I'm just saying. I'm saying after that comment. Oh. I'm not saying that. No, it was you will choose to unfriend me, and then you will call Caesar, and then you will anyway.
Okay,
that's
a lot of work.
That's too much work. We'll just say friends.
Yeah, never mind. No.
Fuck that.
What did you think? Hey, speaking of, I think stuff that came before it happened in the regular 616, because this is not in the 616. This Earth I found out has been designated Earth 9997.
Okay,
just so you know. But what did you think? Hey, another first-time thing, I think, and people that read the comics more than or more historians of the comic. President Osborn, albeit in this dystopian hellscape, eventually does he become president in the 616, or just become uber powerful as the Thunderbolts?
Uber powerful as the Thunderbolts. He doesn't become the president. No.
Okay.
But the Kingpin becomes mayor of New York.
That's right.
And so does J. Jonah Jameson.
Yeah. That's right. You get Scott Summers leading a new group of X-Men. At one point they talk about the High Evolutionary. That's something else that is a weird part of the Marvel 616 that when you try to group all this stuff together, it gets really hard. And what they did do in this is deal with Doctor Strange, which I liked. It's supposed to a lot of these other bigger events were like, oh, here's the MacGuffin why he can't, why the big supernatural.
They dealt with him by killing him.
Well, Clea killed him, and she became the big sorcerer.
I'm saying they dealt with him before anything happened because he was dead.
Well, yes, but at least it wasn't like he's just on the sidelines because he's on the sidelines, but he's not really involved in this. I mean, he did get killed.
And by the way, a lot of times in the comics, he's not that powerful.
Yes, that's true.
Because you go up and down, and it just like, let's be honest, just like any character in a comic book, he's just as powerful as he needs to be for the comic. And if you need to have him have less power, he has less power. Well, we can't do that because he has an ingrown toenail, and whatever. It's the Stan Lee thing that he got tired of. Which hero would win if they fought? And his response was, whichever one the fucking writer wants.
Yes, whoever we need to win for that.
Of course, I always make it easier. It's whichever fucking comic they're in.
Yeah, I was going to say, guess who's going to win in the Captain America comic?
Captain America. Spider-Man's going to win in the Spider-Man comic. It is absolutely whoever's comic they're in. That's who quasi wins the fight between two real superheroes.
Black Bolt can go and just yell out into the universe and call, Franklin Richards home.
Yeah.
You find out that him and Medusa had a kid that's the Black Knight to Captain Britain.
Yes.
That's supposed to marry
Luna,
the blah, blah, blah offspring of Quicksilver and what's-her-face, Crystal, who was an Inhuman and was a member of the Fantastic Four for a second, and I'm blanking on her name.
Luna.
Thank you. Oh,
is
wow,
it?
thank you.
Is it Luna?
Yeah, it is Luna.
Okay,
You're absolutely right.
Hey, it popped into my head.
Every so often there was a little bit of Kirby crackle, stylistically there, which always I enjoy. And I did like the end. I like that, hey, the Celestials believed that Franklin Richards was Galactus, so that just reinforced it, and then he saved the Earth, and then they could fix everything. Of course, I didn't mention that, by the way, Sue Storm and Johnny Storm died, and first, what happened? I think Namor killed Johnny.
Yeah, and then
Namor
killed Johnny because Namor is now eternally burning.
That's right.
Yes,
like on fire.
Yes, I guess he killed him. I didn't even realize he killed him.
And then, or Dr. Doom did, and then Sue killed Dr. Doom. And then there's a weird section of the comic book where they're in the realm of death, where the people that are dead think they're still alive.
Yes, they all think they're alive,
and they think the people that are alive are dead.
Yes.
And and that's just a little bitty like 1-page panel where I'm like, okay, more of that. And okay, I'm getting all riled up because I think there's a lot of good ideas on this you're right. There should have been a whole comic book, or if not, like a 4-issue series about just Hulk and Bruce Banner.
Exactly.
About just Clea.
If they're going to do this, it needed to be an event where they could actually delve into stuff and make it interesting instead of having just somebody narrate this from a third party. It was not well done.
We talked about this before we did this. We've talked about this before we were going to do the podcast, and to the point where I was like, "Well, surely they did." And I looked. They did. I was surprised. I was shocked. I know it's 1999, so
and it's out of continuity too, so it's not canon. So they're not going to.
So they weren't going to do it
bringing
in the main.
they're not bringing it in the main universe, and nobody was going to buy it. They'll buy the 12 issues, the 12 giant issues, because it's 14. Alex Ross.
It was actually, I'm sorry.
Okay,
it was 14 issues.
Well, no, I know. Well, it seemed even, and they were long.
There was a 0 issue, and there was an issue X at the end.
Yeah, well, okay, because I knew there were at least 13, because I got to 12, and I was like, and I'm reading it, and I'm like, they're going to another, this said it was 12 issues, and then there's just this whole thing. I'm like, you tricked me. Son of a, oh my God. I'm like, I'm finally going to finish this. It's been 7 days. Actually,
I finished it in 1 day.
Good. I couldn't sit and do it. I just couldn't. I just had to. Oh my God. I did not have that problem with Spider-Man, Ultimate Spider-Man, Miles Morales.
I think we're good to go here in a second.
Yeah.
For a second there, that Red Skull. So he could only control people in his line of sight. I figured out, or I felt.
I don't think so. He just didn't have he didn't have good control over them. I think was the problem.
Control people nationwide. Could he?
I don't know. He seemed to have pretty much.
They knew what they were doing. They didn't want to do.
Yeah,
it wasn't
dude. None of this shit was fleshed out. It was just this. I have a series of fucking ideas. The whole thing was a goddamn long ass synopsis.
Well,
that was all it was.
It was a conversation between Uatu and Machine Man for a long time. Most of the time, it was just them going back and forth, and then Machine Man figuring out.
It wasn't even much of a conversation. It was just because he was blind and he brought Machine Man up there to tell him what was going on
for the last 20 years.
Oh my God!
Because he had been blinded by what's his face?
Yeah, who did blind him? I couldn't.
The leader of the Inhumans, I think.
Oh, Black Bolt.
I think Black Bolt blinded him for some reason. I remember that sticking out of my head. Of course, Silver Surfer shows up to help out with the woman he loved was now riding the surfboard with them, and whenever I see Norrin Rad, I forget the name of the guy that was actually Rom. Norrin Rad, I always think of Rom. Don't ask me why.
Okay.
And I think of Rom from the licensed toy property comic book thing back in the 80s that I'd pick up random issues of in those like value packs.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
Still wish it was on Ultimate Marvel Unlimited because I would love to read Rom since they pushed it so hard when we were kids. I just kind of want to read it because I never picked it up.
There's some people that love it.
Yeah.
There's a lot of people that love it.
I've gone back and read about it, and I'm like, man, they had some fun. Because, again, you can have a lot of fun in a book like that. Because there's nothing, it's not really tied to anything. You can do whatever the hell you want. And sometimes they do some weird-ass shit, and that's fun.
Yeah. You know what? I know you get on me because I love everything. I'd say it's probably 2 out of 5 stars. What do I do? Did I do 5 stars before the last time I did a star rating?
No, you did 3.
3 out of 5.
Yeah, you did 3 out of 5.
No, this is 2 out of 5. And I think this is 2 to 2.5 out of 5. I don't think it's terrible. I think there's a lot of good ideas. I loved the big ideas, of course. I always do because they're Kirby based, and we know how you feel about Jack Kirby, which is well understood and known. You made that obvious.
I was very highly complimentary to Jack Kirby today. I even gave him some praise as a great comic book writer who wrote that shitstorm of god-awfulness that was Eternals.
I know. No, I think. Look, it left me. I'm interested. Look, I don't know if you noticed or read any more about anything in this. There is more in this universe called. It goes on to Paradise X and Universe X. And 2 different, I'm guessing, I didn't even look to see how long. I'd be surprised if they're not 14 issues each. But I get the feeling, I kind of looked and I think there are one-offs of some of the other stuff.
I think I would rather lick the back of your neck on a hot day than read those.
I bet you would. I bet you would. Anyways, so there's that.
I can't believe you
brought... Marvel. There's Marvel. Oh my God, I didn't know this. In 2020, Marvel published Marvel's X, a prequel to Earth X.
They published what?
They published...
What's it called?
Marvel's X.
Marvel's X. Oh,
It focuses on the last normal human being on Earth named David, as he deals with the aftermath of the Terrigen Mist that turns most of the individuals on Earth into superpowered beings and freaks.
Oh, hey, wait. So, wait, they figured out the core concept of the problem with this other thing, and they're like, hey, let's focus on like just one thing. One thing in this apocalyptic thing. Here's the thing. Anytime you go too big, and that's what they did, it causes problems. Stories are about the common problem, even if it's about super beings. At least to me. It is what's going on with that individual's life because they have powers, not just because they missed out on that. They missed out on there was no rooting interest in any of it. They were like, oh, well, you like these characters, so you'll have some rooting interest. But, well, you don't because all you did was jump in and out. What happened to Mayday, Peter Parker's daughter, May Parker, that she became Venom? And
how did Captain America get to the point where he was so disillusioned
and old? Well, that's America. I mean, that I didn't. You don't give me. I mean, good God. America, disillusioned. It's easy. Plus, Osborn was president. I'd be disillusioned.
Well, this Marvel's X thing, it's Why the Last Man, except it's instead of it being incredibly sexist, it's just he's just the last normal person. He probably I'd never heard of. I just read it right now, and I didn't even know that came out in 2020.
And he probably doesn't get to have as much sex.
Well, and apparently, I don't know.
Okay.
Something about women not being able to do stuff. That's what I was going to say.
Yeah, you have to have a penis to make the power come on. That was
or make cars go. Or
yes.
Refine gas or
yes.
Doctor.
Yes.
Yeah. Everybody knows.
Everybody knows. You have to have a penis to make the world go round.
Well, their brains are smaller than ours.
Yeah, sure. Sure. I'm just going to...
It's science.
This is going to be the opener. It's just going to be you saying all this stuff. I'm just going to cut me right out. That's the opener to this podcast.
You know what? I was... Speaking of... And look, I'm all fine with you having the cold open. Because I was like, every once in a while, I'll say something during the podcast. It's like, oh, I hope that's not the cold open. And I know I've said stuff, and thankfully you've kind of out... Because usually what you've used in the cold open is like, oh, that's right, he did say that. That is worse and better than what I said, and more shocking. So, hey, the podcast isn't over yet. Let's see if you go you know,
Hey,
you're bound to say something.
In
more
fairness,
over the top.
in fairness, I will throw me under the bus too. I do not play favorites. I play. Oh God, I carried the idiot ball there, and well, no, and it's not even a horrible thing. A lot of times it's just I take one of us completely out of context.
Well, especially when I go, to the umpteenth degree, just going on a yes and rant where I'm like, okay, no, I'll keep on going.
Yeah. I'm trying to teach you not to do that.
I know. Well, good luck with that. Let me see if there's anything else here.
No, there's not.
I don't know, man. Marvell shows up at the end.
Yeah, okay,
Remember?
God,
He's
yeah, and
dead.
they teased it, and he didn't do anything, and I did.
Well,
no,
because
I
think they were already setting up what's going to happen in Universe X. I think he's a big player in Universe.
Okay.
I am enough intrigued. Am I good with the words? I'm intrigued enough to keep on. I'm going to read more. I'll report back, but because I can't. I don't know. We'll see. I can't stop now. I have to finish it.
Okay. I have no desire to do that. I will say, however, on the comic book that I suggested, once I finished that and sat down to read Ultimate Spider-Man, I burned through. I had originally said for us to read 6, and Hob pointed out that the first 6 kind of weren't ready because it was more the origin. And I said, okay, well, so maybe we'll go 12. And I sat down and read 12, and then I texted him going, so yeah, I read the entire 28 issue original run. So I have to go on Marvel Unlimited. They divvy them up sometimes. So it's like volume 1 kind of thing. Not like,
yeah,
but it's like the first full volume. So what is that? 28. It was two full years of Marvel Unlimited.
I think
Miles
that sounds
Morales.
right.
Yeah, including in it, it's really cool because something I took from that. In it, there is a skip where then it goes a year later because they do the thing like they do with that Peter Parker has done more than once. But there was the famous one that they use all the time, Spider-Man No More. That Miles did that. He did a Spider-Man No More, and I won't spoil the reason why because I don't know if you read that far. But
I don't think I.
Okay, that's fine. He did it because his mom dies at some point because we've talked about that.
Yes, I do know Miles' mom dies.
Yeah, Miles' mom dies. That's his uncle. I mean, first his Uncle Aaron dies quickly, but that's not like Uncle Ben dying.
Well, I was going to say, well, look, I think we're already
we're just
suggest.
Yeah,
okay.
Miles Morales, Ultimate Spider-Man, Miles Morales. But what I'm going to say is, in Across the Spider-Verse just came out a few weeks ago, and that takes place a year after the first one. So a year has passed in that one. So I thought that was kind of cool that they actually took from this where he was Spider-Man No More for a fucking year. And then boom, here we go. And then they did this with that. Although he was Miles was Spider-Man the whole year in that universe in the movies. So go ahead. You were going to say.
No, what I was going to mention was, and I've mentioned this on the podcast before and talked to you about it, my just complete ignorance of any specifics about really the Ultimate Comics universe. Mm-hmm. I mentioned to you that I thought Peter Parker in the Ultimate Universe died a whole lot sooner than he actually did. The Ultimate Spider-Man debuted
2011. Was that it?
2000, yeah, I mean 2009 is what I'm looking at.
2009.
Is
okay,
that right?
I must have looked
at. Well, you know what? Is that even the first volume? No.
Yeah.
That's the second series. In the year 2000.
Oh no, I was talking about Miles Morales came out.
No, Miles is 2011.
That's what I said.
That's when this comic book started.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. He came out. Okay, yes. Ultimate Spider-Man, the original Ultimate Spider-Man came out in 2000, and then in 2011 they killed him off, and Miles Morales took over. And, and you're right. So they had 11 people. Did you read any of the letters?
I did.
Because they put them in. They're like, man, I can't believe you killed off and and this and that and that. And I see.
Hey,
suck it.
You know. Well, and it's not like they don't have Peter. That's what I never got about the people that hated Miles Morales in the Ultimate Comics, Ultimate Universe, or whatever number it is. Go if you love Peter Parker so much, go reread Ultimate Spider-Man from year 2000, or go read the current Peter Parker Spider-Man.
I was going to say the 616.
No, because I would, whether it's on whatever, I don't know, online on Twitter or back in the day on message boards, or people just rant on. I remember reading Wizard magazine. I don't know if you ever picked that up, where people were going, ape shit about stuff like this when Wizard was still getting published, or and people would write in, or people would have these hot sports opinions about it. So all that to say, yes, I read the first 12 issues.
Okay.
Because Uncle Aaron doesn't die till issue 12 at the very end.
Is that when he dies? Issue 12. Okay.
And then after that, it's Divided We Fall starts.
And if you have not, if you read a Spider-Man comic and you start at the beginning, you got to read at least until an uncle dies.
Well, duh.
I mean, that's just the rule. Sometimes they die sooner, but...
I was going to say, just like what I just rewatched for no reason the beginning of Deadpool 2 or 1. That, maybe it's Deadpool 2. That, it's a family comic book or a family movie because a loved one has to die right at the very beginning, just like Bambi and Lion King, and he just lists off a couple other ones. I don't know. I can't do 3. Whoops. So,
and by the way,
Hmm.
you just watched Deadpool 2 for no reason. No, you did watch it for a reason because it's awesome.
Yeah, well, yeah, it is awesome. It's hard to not watch the beginning too when you catch it right at the beginning.
Yeah, well, I last night until I had to take a nap, I was watching the Into the Spider-Verse because it's awesome.
There you go. Brian Michael Bendis, the writer, penciled by Sara. I'm gonna say
Pichelli.
Is her name Sara Pichelli classified? Is that what I'm reading?
What?
Yeah, that's what it says here on this little thing I'm reading, but who knows? Don't listen to me, man.
Okay. I rarely do.
So, yeah, Sara Pichelli. Okay, Sara Pichelli. And people are firing off fireworks, man.
Oh, no, they...
America.
Well, that's the day after the 4th.
Yeah.
Some say it's the 5th.
I thought... Earth 1610. I didn't know that. Is the Earth of the ultimate
is it
universe.
1610? Oh, yeah. One of the great things I liked is in this universe, I noticed this reading so many of these, and I hadn't noticed it before. When the police call out that there's a superhero or a supervillain thing going on, they call it there's a 616 going on.
I
was like, that's awesome. I was like, that was a nice nod. We got a 616 and a 616 in progress. I was like, okay, nice, well done, y'all.
Yeah.
Nerd alert. No, so
I'm guessing you like this.
Oh, I loved this. I told you, I burned through the first 28 once I got down. It was wonderful to use something like this to wash the taste of the other shit you made me read out of my mouth. Good Lord. But no, that was just such a beating, and this was an easy read. It was an easy, entertaining
okay, and
read.
vice versa, because this was not a hard read. I mean, I poured through the 12 issues pretty fast, but I read that, like I told you, I read the other one I think on a Sunday.
Oh God!
And just finished it.
Well,
it Saturday.
was. Well, I read things quick that I enjoy, and maybe that's you too. And you enjoyed Earth X for some ungodly reason.
Because it's awesome. Let's see, origin story for Miles. I didn't know the origin story at all. I didn't know that it was because his uncle was a prowler. I mean, I knew that his uncle was a prowler from the movie. I didn't know that his uncle was robbing the place and got the spider in the bag and all that. So that was cool.
Yeah. And this uncle is completely different. If you've watched Spider-Verse, this Uncle Aaron is completely different from the Uncle Aaron in the Spider-Verse. This Uncle Aaron is a bad guy.
No, he's not a good person.
Yeah, he's not even a good person because that was such the nice part about Into the Spider-Verse when he realizes that Miles is Spider-Man. He doesn't want to kill him. He puts his mask back on him, and he's like, "Shh, I got you." And then he gets
doesn't
shot.
try to use him to kill the Scorpion and become the Kingpin in New York. You mean?
Yes, all of what? Yeah, because Uncle Aaron tries to use him. He's like, "You owe me, and I'll tell your dad." And finally, he's like, "Motherfucker, let's tell my dad."
So they make the dad of this. So the dad in the Spider-Verse movie,
it's Cop.
There's this. What's his name? Frank Quaid. And maybe I just missed it. Any relation to the family? I know he's a black dude. That's all I know. And I remember him appearing in this run, the cop. But his dad had trouble with the law. His dad is not in this as much as I was expecting him to be in it. Quite frankly.
Well. Eventually, it turns out. I'll just spoil something from way later.
Yeah, go ahead.
It turns out his dad at one point was a SHIELD agent.
Ah, okay, cool.
So and you didn't get far enough to get into the stuff where he got in trouble and became a kind of hero, and then people thought he was. Then the Venom there the new Venom thought he was Spider-Man. It gets wonderfully comic booky weird. Yeah.
Yeah.
But this whole arc was, he gets bit by a spider. He becomes Spider-Man. He doesn't want to be Spider-Man. He really doesn't want to be Spider-Man. Much like Peter Parker wanted to make money off of being Spider-Man. He just is like, I don't know what to do. And then Spider-Man dies because he gets bit by this spider before the Peter Parker there dies. And
he goes and sees him getting killed and doesn't do anything.
That's
feels
right.
Bad.
He runs over. He hears it's going on, and he goes over there because he's literally wearing a costume his childhood friend Ganke gave him. It was a really expensive Spider-Man costume that Ganke had worn for Halloween.
Yep.
And he goes over and he watches it, and then he goes to Peter Parker's funeral. And he talks to Gwen Stacy and asks her, why was he Spider-Man? And she tells him, and by the way, one of the most heart-wrenching comic books I have ever read was the funeral of Peter Parker. When Aunt May rips Captain America and walks out of the funeral, and then J. Jonah Jameson talks her back into it. Because
why does she rip Captain America?
Because Captain America was supposed to train him and didn't, and he took a bullet. The reason he died is there was a big thing going on, a kind of event thing, and Peter Parker came over and he took a fucking bullet for Captain America, and then they tore off, and then he went back and got killed by the Green Goblin.
Why didn't Captain just use a shield to stop the bullet?
Spidey sense trumps a shield. So he took the bullet.
Well. No, that part was when they were just hanging out there and by the barrier, and they get Gwen Stacy's attention. Oh, Ganke. Look, I immediately thought of the
Ned Leeds.
Ned
they fucking ripped it off whole cloth.
Okay, they did that on purpose. I know, because they needed a buddy for Peter.
It ticked me off. Did they? They
really.
It ticked me off. They took something that was from a completely different Spider-Man's life, and they put it in another Spider-Man's movie. And I've had some problems with this run of Spider-Man movies. I love them, but I don't think of them as really that great a Spider-Man.
But I think you're on. Your opinions about Spider-Man movies are suspect, because I think you said Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man. So
I really like Andrew Garfield as Spider-Man. No, I think I've said...
You like him as Peter Parker.
I said Andrew Garfield is the best Spider-Man. I think the current Spider-Man, whatever, is the best of both characters. He does the best of both characters.
Tobey Maguire's a terrible person and an actor.
No, I just don't like him as Spider-Man. I liked him as pre-Spider-Bite Peter Parker.
Okay.
That's what I think of it. I would have liked Jake Gyllenhaal better.
I told this to Julie. What happened?
I don't know.
Hello? Okay. No,
why'd you take your pants off?
Because I haven't. You'll be proud of me. I hadn't touched my keyboard or mouse in so long. I went to screensaver.
Oh, okay.
And then I moved my mouse and it wasn't coming back, and I got scared. I had just stopped transmitting.
Okay, well that's okay. I haven't been recording. I think for like 45 minutes.
Oh, good.
No, I'm just kidding.
We
didn't
hilarious.
do that. Yeah, no, it wouldn't. No, it wouldn't. I hate it.
That actually would be fairly upsetting since it's already almost 9:30, and I'm old and tired. No, Ganke. I thought that was cool that they took him and said, "Oh, we can use this in the Marvel." Now, I don't think that means that they shouldn't or couldn't use him in the Into the Spider-Verse movies.
That's his roommate. The problem is though the problem is they took all of that character and gave it to Ned Leeds, and now Ganke is there, but he's not his childhood best friend. He's not Miles' childhood best friend. He's just his roommate. He's not got. I mean, they could have given Peter Parker a best friend. They just stole a wholly formed one. This is, to me, it's also a writing thing. Write your own best friend. Don't make him literally.
Why should they make something up that's new and different when they were something already really good in the source material that they just needed to move over one universe?
That's not the source material. It's stolen he stole his best friend, and I'm not okay with that.
It's all Spider-Man. I don't see color.
They're different people, though. I don't think it has a thing, you son of a bitch. Why?
I'm just trying now. Oh, I'm drawing you off sides. This is awesome. I never get to do this.
You didn't draw me off sides. I'm just saying.
Getting upset. What else? Oh, there was a really nice. Ganke's wearing a Howard the Duck I see you're holding your Spider-Man doll.
Look at Spider.
Action figure, sorry.
In fairness, this Spider-Man action figure that I'm holding up, Hav gave it to me. I did. It's a very nice
really
gift.
Cool,
it's awesome. It's awesome.
It's oversized, though. It's bigger than even Amigo doll. It's a pretty big one.
I don't know what Amigo doll is.
Like those ones from the late 70s?
Okay.
I don't know.
Okay.
That's a big one. What? Oh my
God.
Ganke's wearing a Howard the Duck t-shirt at one point. I made a special note of that because I thought that was
awesome.
Cool that he's wearing that. You mentioned that Miles's mom turns into his Uncle Ben, but I remember there was a really touching scene. I felt like after the funeral, after he saw Peter die, Spider-Man, he's talking to Ganke, and he's like, hey, I felt like Peter Parker was almost his Uncle Ben.
In some ways he was. He took over for him because of that, and Gwen talked to him. And did they come back from Europe during the 12 issues? Aunt May, did he meet Gwen again during the 12?
Yeah, I know that they were in Europe at one point, and I don't know if he met Aunt May again. I don't even remember.
I don't know if he, because they gave, did he get the web shooters? Did he have web shooters in the first 12?
I want to say yes, but I don't remember, man.
Okay.
I do remember, because I kind of glossed over that part. I was like, I don't know why.
Jesus, that's some, what? Are you dead inside?
What?
Are you dead inside?
Maybe a little bit.
There's some touching shit in this, man. This thing made me cry.
That was a sweet. That was sweet. I just don't remember. You know what? I don't remember the web shooters. I think so at the end, because when he's fighting Uncle Aaron.
See, I don't. I don't. I'm trying to remember. I literally read so much of it.
Oh my God, Ethel! She's hearing the fireworks from down the street. It's okay.
But what happened? You see, what happened was they.
Go ahead. I don't know why that cracked me up hard.
At one point, they see that there's a new Spider-Man, and they come back and they get in touch with him, and he goes and meets them.
Yes.
In a dark, and they talk to him, and they agree that he should do it, and he says, "Hey, we even met." And she's like, "You're the kid from the funeral," and it's like, "Yes." And she gives him the web shooters, then the formula for making web fluid. And he's like, "What the hell am I going to do?" So he gives it to Ganke. He's like, "You got to make," and then the web fluid he makes him doesn't work.
Whoops.
Yeah.
You know what? No, I think I'd remember all that.
Okay.
Then.
Yeah, no, I
feel like I would.
It's really some cool stuff. Cause I mean, you're talking about Miles, Peter Parker was 15. Miles was 13. And he says at one point, he says, because somebody asked him I think Captain America, when he meets Captain America, asks him if he's 12, and he goes, I'm almost 14. Yeah, you're 13. So you're 13. So it was all of that is just, I really think Bendis did an amazing job with this.
No, it's really good. And look, the Scorpion, making the Scorpion into a badass bad guy.
That was brilliant. Yeah, he was
overpowered. Not overpowered, just really powerful. Yeah. He's it, and I'm guessing Mexico. Did they ever say what country?
Yeah,
he's
I
from?
think that was. It is Mexico. I think it was Mexico. Yeah, and I got to say too, the Scorpion is actually a pretty powerful superhero. He's except in the original, he's encased in the suit by Jameson in order to fight. You want his backstory for real?
Yeah.
Okay, so Jameson hires the guy that becomes the Scorpion to follow Peter Parker to figure out how he's getting these pictures.
Oh, God.
And then he pays to have him turn into the Scorpion, and then the Scorpion goes after him. And so he almost figured out with that by doing it. This was like in the first, obviously in the original run, when they came up with all these fucking bad guys. I mean, it was incredible. What Ditko and Lee did in that original run was amazing. But I didn't mean it. I mean, but
all
literally,
of them, what they did of those original runs.
Yeah.
When you go back and look at whether it's Ditko and him, or Ditko had a lot to do with the Doctor Strange stuff back in the day, and all the fantastical. I forget who was Iron Man, but no, it was awesome.
And that's what was nice about when the Ultimate Universe was working, and it really only worked best with Spider-Man. And that's not because I love Spider-Man. It really only did work best with Spider-Man. I think that had more to do with Bendis than anybody else, because some of the other stuff just went off the rails a bit. I liked some of the original Ultimate X-Men. That was pretty good, and then it got weird. And I loved the Hulk meets
Wolverine
story.
Yeah.
But some of the stuff got weird, and I would love to see how their Reed Richard turned into the weird freak show that he is, that's still in the Marvel Universe. Because I can't find that run where he turned into, what do they call him? You know what I'm talking about?
No, he turns back. I didn't read. I hardly read any of the Ultimate comics. I think I've told you that before.
Okay.
It was not. That was right when I wasn't reading as much.
Well, and I've only read this because I got Marvel Unlimited. I didn't read any comics back then when it was out. Reading Ultimate Spider-Man got me back into reading comics when I bought the Ultimate Spider-Man graphic novels on Amazon, used versions of them, because I was getting them for like $2. I was paying more for the shipping than I was for the comics.
Oh wow.
Yeah, the graphic novels, because you can get those trade paperbacks a lot of the time for almost nothing online, and then you pay like $5 to deliver it. So it was like $7 sometimes, because it was like lightly. Some of them were brand new, some of them were lightly used, which means literally they'd been read once. So
yeah. I'm sorry, and I'm just because it's killing me that I don't remember. I don't think I got to see
the web shooters.
I don't think he had the web shooters. I think I'd remember
That's
that.
fine.
Like,
yeah,
I
think you
that
would
would
too.
be something I'd forget.
I think you would too. It was just cool stuff. But it was the blackmailing from his Uncle Aaron that was some.
No, his uncle's a son of a bitch.
His uncle is
a bad dude.
Yeah, he is truly a bad dude. No,
because when I first started reading it, it's like, because I'm thinking of Uncle Aaron from the movie, and then when he's just turns out to just, I mean, it's I'm not gonna say it's transparent, but I was kind of hoping he was going to do a whole, okay, now I'm really going to help my... And then I was like, oh, no,
you're my nephew. No, he's a bad guy. And that's really... his dad really said. And in fairness, even in his Uncle Aaron in the movies could be a bad guy. He just he's just inside really gives a crap about his nephew.
I was going to say actually cares for his nephew.
Yeah, he cares for his nephew. He's still a bad guy, but he loves his nephew. And because he'll clearly, based on what he's wrapped up in that movie, he'll kill people, he'll do stuff. That's fine, but that's his nephew, that's his boy. He ain't gonna do shit to hurt his nephew. Fuck that. Yeah. Whereas this one is like, nope, other way around. He really doesn't. He's truly a sociopath. He doesn't care. He wants to be. He sees his chance to go for it and takes it. So yeah, it's interesting.
Well, so speaking of stuff that they took from the Ultimate Universe and put into the movies for their own purposes, you get the Samuel L. Jackson based Nick Fury here.
Most of, and they'll even say that most of the current Marvel movies are based on more of the stuff from the Ultimate Universe.
Very early.
Yeah, the Ultimate Universe. They mind, even though people that have read the regular Marvel Universe and know all that backstory, the versions of those events, they took more from that. And it makes sense because they had recreated the Marvel Universe in the year 2000. So
I read Ultimates, the Avengers thing.
Yeah.
But what was cool about the movies, I was going to say, so that you get because the artist even and the writer even said they're Nick Fury, they based on Samuel L. Jackson, and you also get the Trisilicon, whatever, the shield tower base thing where they're based out of in the harbor of New York City. And that's where Miles gets detained for a little bit.
Yes.
And I thought that was cool because you got to see that universe's, I think, Cap, Nick Fury, Iron Man.
Well, you also saw Jessica Drew.
Yes, Spider-Woman, that's right.
Do you know her story?
You've told me in the Ultimate Comics, I forget. You told me though. I'm sorry, I don't remember.
That's okay. She's a clone. She's a clone of Peter Parker.
That's right.
She is, and by a clone of. Remember when they clone these Peter Parkers in the Marvel Universe? They have all the memories. So she is a female version of Peter Parker, and there is a in that 28 issue run I read. Because she won't tell him anything because she's pissed off because there's this all of a sudden, and he's wearing Peter Parker, in her mind, the person that she kind of has the memories of, costume, who's dead. So she thinks it's in poor taste. And it was I like that character. I like that Jessica Drew character in this. And I just love Miles Morales. I think he is just a wonderful new take on Spider-Man.
No, it is. I thought it was like, I keep on repeating, I thought it was so much older than 12 years ago when he first really came out or was introduced into the Ultimate Universe comic book wise. the one of the things I did want to ask you about, or just talk about a little bit, was so the Tinkerer is the one that gave Uncle Aaron some tech that turned out not to be good tech.
Sold.
Yes. I'm sorry, did I say gave? Yeah,
no,
sold. Yeah.
the Tinkerer does not give you tech. He sells you tech.
And then at one point...
He said it worked. He said it worked. He said it's supposed to work. It actually worked. It's supposed to work once. It worked twice and fizzled out the third time. He's like, it's supposed to work once, and then you run away. It's not my fault that you did not run away.
Well, they just introduced like you do. I think. I mean, the big bad, of course, is the Prowler. You got the Scorpion, and then this guy showed up, and I swear I was like, "Is that Bullseye? No, it's not Bullseye. The Ringer." Is that anybody based in the 616 that I'm supposed to know? He had rings. I don't know if you remember that part.
Oh, yeah.
I was so confused. I thought, because he had a big thing on his face, and I thought it was Bullseye, and I was like, that's not Bullseye. He's not acting like Bullseye.
No. I think he was new.
Okay.
I think he may have been new. He could be from there, too, but he could also be new. I don't know. It's not one that really struck with me, but you got to remember, there are so many Spider-Man villains throughout the time he's been around.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
I can't believe you haven't seen the new movie. Spider-Verse movie.
I have.
Have you seen it?
I told you that.
Yeah.
2 Sundays ago, I went and saw it. Have you seen it?
No.
Oh, okay. So then we can't talk about it.
I know.
I told you at the start of this, I love it. I loved it. And it angered me so much. Anyway.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. No, I don't. You can't tell me anything.
I will tell you, so you're not angered. No, I won't. Never mind.
No, did they set up a third one?
Yes.
Just tell me that. Okay, good.
There's going to be a third one. It's supposed to come out next year.
Okay, good.
Which is good. Motherfuckers.
Good.
Yeah, I agree.
See, now Ethel's upset too.
She should be.
You angered the dog.
I didn't anger the dog.
Exactly.
I didn't anger the dog. She feels how I have been abused by... Anyway, this is all a joke. I truly love that movie. I got to go see it again.
I'm trying to see if there... I mean, look, it was good. It was very good. It was excellent. Especially... If anybody's a Spider-Man fan, and look, unless you're somebody that's a weirdo that it's got to be Peter Parker and it's a different freaking universe. I know I know what I want to ask you. I know you've told me before, this shows how little already, they eventually merge the universes.
Yes.
And they bring his mom back to life when they merge the universes?
No, they don't merge the universes. They
take certain people out of...
No.
Go ahead. What do they do?
Okay.
Does it involve time travel?
God, no.
I'm joking.
Did I sound angry? I just said no. They had I think it was called Ultimatum event, and they literally crash the 616 into the Ultimate Universe. They say it's something because we talk about inversions in stuff. I think they were kind of using that because we're doing that in the Multiverse of Madness.
Okay.
Inversions cause problems, and you can have implosions, and the two places can cancel out if you do it too much. So there's been a lot. Peter Parker has been over there, and things of that nature. So they're crashing the two together, and that's where we end up with Secret Wars 2, which was actually, as we well know, is Secret Wars 3. Continuity be damned. Anyway.
Or just Secret Wars in the Ultimate Universe, or Secret Wars period?
Secret Wars 2. That big event they did, which was Secret Wars... Yeah, with Doom World and Dr. Doom was in charge. Yeah, and Battle World, Dr. Doom was in charge, and he was running it. But the thing is, they put together a life raft, and different comic book characters land in it. So if you read just the regular, not all the event, because I mean they did this in the whole 616, the whole Marvel universe did this. And if you read the linear 612 issues,
Yeah, okay, sorry.
No, I did. I pulled a issues episodes thing. It's been a while. So if you read it, some of the heroes arrive there with their regular memories, and they know there's a problem that has to be fixed. So at one point, Miles Morales is one of these, and I think he runs into... I don't remember. I've only read this once, and I should read it again because now I want to know this for sure. But somehow he ends up, part of the thing helping Doom hold it together is the Molecule Man. If you remember the Molecule Man from the original Secret Wars, he is ungodly powerful, okay?
Yes.
And so there's Beyonders all over the place, and then in every universe there's a Molecule Man who can do basically he can do anything. And he is holding this Doom world together. And he goes into this negative space. It's just this white area where he's sitting cross-legged, floating, if I remember correctly, and in comes Miles Morales and I think Valeria Storm. He's with Valeria Storm, and they go in and they talk to the Molecule Man, and the Molecule Man says something about, I'm hungry. So Miles Morales pulls a cheeseburger that he's had in his pocket since they destroyed, his Earth was destroyed, and he came in this arc that he managed to be in, and he gives it to the Molecule Man, who eats it. So when they recreate, they're not recreating the Ultimate, they're just recreating the 616. So when they do that, he rewards him by bringing him into that, and as an extra reward brings his mother back to life. So that's how he got, so that's how he got back in. And then, that's great. Then
before I forget, when we read Spider-Man, and there's the ending part where there's still a Spider-Man that appears to be in the Ultimate Comics universe. Is that just a different version?
Are you talking Spider-Man 2?
Yes.
Yes, okay. What we found out there is that the Ultimate Universe does exist still. That was kind of Bendis saying, you know what? My original Peter Parker, who, by the way, he showed was still alive at one point during the run of Ultimate Spider-Man. He's alive because they all get back.
Really?
Yes. It is incredibly hard. There's the thing. It's all based on the stuff that the Green Goblin did to himself, but it happened to Peter Parker first. And the Green Goblin's almost impossible to kill. So he keeps coming back to life in the Ultimate Universe. So later they're having a memorial, a years later memorial at Aunt May's house, and Peter Parker shows up, and he's been alive, and Mary Jane is known because he and Mary Jane got back together, and he just can't go back to being Spider-Man because it literally killed him, and he can't be Peter Parker because everybody knows Peter Parker is Spider-Man. So the funny thing is,
that's interesting. Good.
And he asks Miles Morales for his web shooters back. Because Miles Morales is there. He's like, I would like my web shooter. And I think I think they agree that he'll have one and he'll have the other one. I'm like, Peter can just, he's probably also broke. How's he going to make them? Anyway. Yeah. So yes and no. It could also be they just recreated, it could also just be another universe that's very similar with that.
I was going to say,
it could be, but I kind of like the idea of, no, it's still that one, and maybe that one, Peter Parker never died, so there was never a Miles Morales that became that, you know?
Yeah.
Maybe in that one that's what's going on.
I just remember being fascinated by, like I said, I read what I did read because I was a big Avengers fan, as you know, and X-Men. I read a few of the Avengers and X-Men Ultimate comic books. Mm-hmm. Those both got so weird so fast and so different that
it was.
I mean, I've mentioned it before on the podcast where Pietro and Wanda are brother and sister, but also lovers
in the nighttime.
And then I forget what was. I know in the X-Men, in the Ultimate X-Men, I think it's just that they were going through storylines so fast. It was like, well, you're not even fleshing anything out. You're boom, with one issue, this is done. One issue, this is done.
Yeah. Actually, Ultimatum, I think Ultimatum was actually the one where they flooded New York, now that I think about it, and not the other one. But they flooded New York, and by they, I mean Magneto flooded New York. And then the big secret, I think he flood it because he found out the big secret of the mutants in the Ultimate Universe was they're not fucking mutants. It's just like Captain America. They were given
powers.
They got given powers. They didn't mutate. They're not.
I didn't even get to that point then. I bowed out so early. No, I didn't even get to that point.
So
I barely read any. Anyways.
Well, so because I did read tons and tons, but mutants were awful, and dude.
I mean, they had a lot of long runs though.
Yeah.
Ultimate X-Men was 100 issues. I'm looking. Fantastic Four, I don't remember doing a big run. Okay, 60.
One got weird because Reed Richards Reed Richards was a bad dude.
The Maker.
Yes, that's what they call him. Yes,
the Maker. Mm-hmm. So,
and he's appeared in the 616 now. He's a 616 villain. Yes,
I kind of like the Evil Beast from the Apocalypse universe. Mm-hmm. I know you probably haven't read.
I think I have read some
Age of Apocalypse, there's Evil Beast, and then he comes over from that universe. I think it's is that House of M?
I have read Apocalypse.
The Apocalypse, is it not Apocalypse now? That's a movie. Age of Apocalypse. Jesus.
Yeah, you can, yes, but I have read that. or at least I read part of it.
Well, I haven't suggested it yet.
Oh, that's good. Yet.
No, but you know what? I've been derelict. Well, no, I just suggested an X-Men arc.
I've been derelict.
I'm good for that for now. Hey, look, I'm gonna, when it comes to readability and just pure comic book enjoyment, your suggestion was way better than mine. I still geek out about all the mythological history, getting into the weeds on how the Inhumans, deal with how do you deal with Celestials and Eternals and Inhumans and mutants and super soldiers and all that crap.
It was just too much. It was too much for 13 comics. 14 comics, whatever it came out at. It was just so much, and it was so exposition. It was. I totally agree with that. I mean, if there's ever an art form,
nothing happened.
If there's ever an art form that it's show not tell, it's a fucking comic book.
Exactly. No, because I was going to say, you could probably bullet point in 5 bullet points what actually happens in the comic book. Otherwise, it's a history lesson on the Marvel Universe.
It's exactly what it is. Yes. We can easily bullet point it. It is...
Of actually what happens. Now, if you want to talk about the history, because they go into exhausting detail.
No, it's just a fight against the Red Skull, and then the Celestials show up to stop them from killing the Red Skull, and then they call Galactus, and Galactus stops the Celestials, and that's it. That's what happens.
Yeah. Well, and Franklin Richards is Galactus, but
okay, yeah, but
yeah.
The
plot that doesn't matter. Yeah,
exactly. You said what happens. That's what happens. You're right. In this, the actual Galactus has been turned into a star by Reed Richards. It's like, okay,
it's a huge history lesson, and I still think a plot hole. Kind of what they perceive to be a plot hole that they felt like they need fixing. Why Uatu, whatever, the Watcher for Earth helped out Reed stop Galactus. But anyway, hey, I don't want to take away from Miles Morales. It did make me want to read more. I tell you what, I stopped hard at 12 because the title, like the lead thing was, I think it was called Divided We Fall, and I could tell that this was like going to be a thing. There, I wasn't going to be able to read like 2 or 3 issues more.
I think
figure out what was going on.
About immediately. The nation breaks up into civil war.
Like literally a civil war.
Yes, there's literally a civil war. They make Captain America.
Oh no, I did
president.
read. I read like the first page. Was like this.
They make
seceding.
Yeah, they make Captain America president. Peter Parker ends up not Peter Parker. Miles Morales ends up joining that. He saves Captain America's life during it, but that is actually right away they meet. He meets. It's right after that. That's when he meets. Who's it? What's it? Gwen and Aunt May. Gwen and Aunt May. He meets them. So I'm sorry, I should have remembered that.
Okay.
He also Jessica.
I did read like the first page. I was like, nope, hard stop here.
He and Jessica Drew are in it, and Jessica does not want him around because it's bad memories for her. I mean, she lost Peter Parker, who read it. It's fun. Well,
yeah, no, it's going to be easy because it's right there on.
Yeah, you could just go. You can just go next, and because that's what I did. I was just like, I don't want to.
I'm just
associate with anybody else. Just read another comic book.
I'm gonna, not that I'm a completionist at that point, but I'm gonna want to read a bunch more of just the Ultimate Comics general.
That's what happened to me
Universe.
When I was reading. I've read a ton of the Ultimate Universe. And I still can't find out where the maker comes from. That's the thing I want to find out. I'm going to have to do more. I started researching it online at one point because I don't remember where in the Ultimate Universe he becomes the maker. I see where he has the schism in the Fantastic Four when they end the Fantastic Four run, but I can't ever find where he becomes the maker.
I noticed in the little digging I did, they had a whole bunch of little like one-off events.
Okay.
Or limited series. So I'm wondering if it's in one of those.
It might be. There was, but the thing is, I think I read one of those that has him in it, but it's not where that, but you know what I mean? It's like, now he's the maker, but it's like, okay, where did that happen? I want the origin of this. I want to know the wherefores and the whys, other than that he's just a complete and fucking total asshole.
Yeah.
I mean, he really was. They worked him that way from the beginning, which in fairness, the original Reed Richards because didn't we read the first run?
We did. Yeah.
He was kind of an asshole.
That was a chauvinistic, know-it-all. He's better, smarter than everybody else. That's why my pitch for the Fantastic Four movie, I've told you before, I think it's still on my Twitter pin, is you make him a fish out of water. He's 1960, 63 Reed Richards. but transported to now, and it's a Mad Men except Reed Richards.
Yes.
And Sue darling, will you get me a coffee and go, do the housework? And I think that'd be hilarious.
And 20 minutes after meeting the new Black Widow, she divorces him.
There you go. Yes. Yeah. Or Namor. Who knows?
Oh yeah, she'll run off. Yeah, no, that's true. This Namor fucks, so yeah.
He's also speaking of King.
Yeah, oh God. Speaking of assholes.
Yeah.
Which, hey, by the way, if you're going to make a king, he's going to be an asshole. Kings are assholes.
Oh, yeah. Absolute power, man.
That look better without their head.
Absolute power. Well, hey, anything else to mention about either of the comics we read this go round?
No, but we can mention that no one has sent Hav an email, and that saddens Hav.
I figured.
Yeah.
I'm not even surprised anymore.
Yeah, but you can
I know people listen, but they're choosing to not send emails. So.
Yeah. You can go... Oh, I did want to... I apologize at the beginning of this, I did want to apologize for, in the last episode, saying Hav has never pleased a woman, but I will say this. If that were not true, I would have expected an email from Julie, who has the email, disputing it. Therefore, as far as I know,
She's just not going to stoop to your level.
Hav and I had an offline conversation about that where he told me he was married and I was unmarried. Therefore, clearly...
Oh, yeah, if I would have been smart enough to...
Clearly, he can please a woman because he's married, and I would like any women out there to reply, how many women do you know whose husbands can't please them sexually? And fortunately, there's not that many people that read this.
Listen to this, read this.
Yeah, okay. It's late. I only slept 12 hours last night.
No, because the reason I mentioned that is I'm married, you're not, is if I was at all fast on my feet with the thinking and the verbal wording of talking, I would have fired back with that right away, but instead I was like, oh, okay, oh.
Oh, no, you did fire back right away. You fired back when I said, and Hav has never pleased a woman with, my wife listens to this. Which was it was the perfect setup because that's where this all started. Because then me being evidently fairly quick with the verbal stuff, got to say, I think she knows that.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I just platter, silver. Here you go. Alley-oop for the dunk.
Jeez.
What else do you need?
It's just not sport, Hav. Come on, make it harder.
I was going to say.
Seriously, Hav, make it harder.
Yeah, I'm tired too. Hey, so I was about to start thanking people. Hold on. I was about to start thanking you.
Oh, you were going to
do another one of these?
Yeah, we are. You were going to do what I did a few episodes ago, which was just, all right, everybody. And you're like, dude. Yes, we're going to discuss what we're going to read next. I for once, you know what? I tell you what, I'll go first. I always make you go first, but
okay.
But my suggestion, as I already told Hav, I went searching for something from this writer because we talk about her all the time. Gail Simone. She is a comic book writer. We love her, and we love her on Twitter because she is hilarious. And we've never read anything she's written. I mean, for the podcast, I've read things she's written, and I was thinking about doing some of them, but I didn't because I found out that she wrote a Plastic Man run, and I've always wanted to do Plastic Man. I've never read it, have not read this, don't know if it's going to be any good. I'm assuming it's going to be good because she wrote it, and it's Plastic Man. That's awesome. So we're going to read Plastic Man.
Yeah, I am looking forward to it because Plastic Man is one of those characters, and I think we've talked about this before. Saturday morning cartoon, I think late 70s or very early 80s. Did you ever watch it? Have we talked about this before?
I did, but I don't really remember it. But I remember watching it.
I remember the few times I would see him in comic books. I don't remember him ever having his own comic book, except I know Ed Brubaker. Somebody did one. Not Ed Brubaker. Who was it? But I'm glad that Gail Simone did, because I'm thoroughly looking. If she's a tenth as funny in this comic book as she is in her Twitter feed, it's going to be hilarious as well.
Yes.
Very much looking forward to it. 2018, by the way. I think I've already found it. 6 issues.
Is that Plastic Man run. 6 issues? Okay. Yeah, you found it because I texted you what it was on Hoopla.
Oh, yeah, you did.
It wasn't...
I did, but
You didn't do any, great depths of... You just... Gail Simone, Plastic Man. Oh, there it is. I found it. Congratulations. Sherlock Holmes.
Thank you. I can't...
Mr. Dewey, everyone, of the Dewey Decimal System. Mr. Dewey, thank you.
I know card catalogs in numbers. what I'm suggesting Catwoman from the year 2002.
Okay.
It's the third Catwoman series, written by Ed Brubaker.
Okay.
Art by Darwin Cook and Mike Allred. So I knew Ed Brubaker wrote it. He's a heavy hitter.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know that we've read a bunch of him.
I've possibly read that before because I've read I've read some Catwoman stuff.
You'll tell by the cover, I think, or the art right away. Because Darwin Cook, New Frontier, very distinctive. Unfortunately, no longer with us. Passed away way too early.
Is that on Hoopla?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
It absolutely is.
Cool.
If you do Catwoman Brubaker or Catwoman 2002, I think it'll come up. And I think the first collection is, I think it's more than 6 issues. Unfortunately, I think it's 9.
That's okay.
But I remember thoroughly enjoying it, but I have not read it since the very early 2000s. So early to mid 2000s anyway.
Okay.
So yeah.
Excellent. Well, that will be fun.
And one of the reasons I wanted to suggest it kind of hurt me on the inside a little bit. I think you mentioned that I had not suggested, well, at the point in time you said I hadn't suggested any female-centric or female-based comics. I was the one that suggested Wonder Woman, who was like the alpha female.
That's true. It's the only, you suggested the only female comic book character you actually knew, and you felt you had to do something since I had suggested so many. Yeah, I get you. That's fine. And then you did some Googling. You did some Googling and were like, oh, I found another one.
Woman, superhero, cat. Hey, did you know? Hey, there's a Catwoman, Charles. Did you know that? Okay, so I think now we got the suggestion set up, and I want to thank Charles, as I always do, who is my good friend, but also does all the heavy lifting, I say every time, which is true, producing, editing, publishing the podcast, computer stuff that is, just beyond my, I don't know where I'd start.
It's not, well, I could show you how to do this, and you could do a fine job.
Okay. Well, anyway, thank you for doing all that, and thank you to everybody for listening.
Yes, thank you everybody for listening. Hob, thank you for doing this with me. Patrick, thank you for the stuff you do for us as well. And
absolutely,
we will talk to y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.